So Disney's Cruella, does it get the wicked treatment, or is she just wicked? We find out on Film Threat Reviews. I'm Alan Ning, I'm with Zorianna Kit, and today we review Disney's Cruella. It's the origin story of one of Walt Disney's most iconic villains, Cruella DeVille. She starts from a grifter to a fashion designer, and then finally to a dog hater. Directed by Gillespie, stars Emma Stone, Emma Thompson, Emma Roberts, Emma Bunton. No, actually, it stars Emma Stone, Emma Thompson, Joel Fry, and Paul Walter Hauser. We just recently reviewed a movie of his. Yeah. So let me ask you. It's the big Disney movie of the year, first one in the theaters. What were your feelings about Cruella DeVille?
I actually very much enjoyed this origin story. Because in a way, you could say it has nothing to do with Cruella DeVille that we know from 101 Dalmatians. They could have called it something completely different, and it still would have been entertaining and totally enjoyable to watch without having to really need any context. It was just glorious to look. I mean, visually, the eye candy, the costumes are just so stunning. But the story itself, it's sort of like, it's not like the Joker, but it's similar to the Joker in that this origin story kind of gives us a more sympathetic view of a villain in a universe created by, in this case, Disney, whereas Joker was DC. So and then this person, or this, sorry. And then it's this anti-hero that grows up to become like a role model, for lack of a better word, for the audience, because Cruella DeVille here isn't truly evil. She might be wicked, but she's not evil, and you like her and you're rooting for her, and you have empathy and sympathy for her, like you did for like the Joker on a whole other level. I can't.
Yeah, in that regard. Yeah, I'm always worried about these kind of films, especially with Maleficent, and at my home for a long time, Wicked was constantly being played. And I like the fact that I think they did leave that somewhat ambiguous in the sense of, this. Well, I would say, except for the ending, this could really be Cruella DeVille. This does fall in line with what ultimately happens in the animated feature, and again, except for the ending, but we'll talk very little bit about that. But in terms of, could this be Cruella DeVille? Is Emma Stone Cruella DeVille? Is this Horace and Jasper? Yeah, I mean, you do get the sense, as sympathetic as she is, because she goes up against the Baroness, played by Emma Thompson. It's
the Emma versus Emma showdown here.
Yeah, it's the Emmas. I know, that's what I'm saying. We got to get Emma Bunton for the music. I felt like, this is plausibly Cruella DeVille's actual origin story. And I do love the fact that it takes place at the same time as the movie almost. I would say it's maybe pushed up 5 years, but it's pretty much where that movie should be. And I'll just say this: if you ever want to introduce your kids to the 60s, and especially the psychedelic 60s, Cruella is the movie to show them.
Yes.
I loved it. I loved everything about the 60s in this film.
Well, it's as if this movie took bits and pieces of, like, I mean, the Devil Wears Prada, where we had Meryl Streep and Anne Hathaway. You very much kind of get that vibe here with Emma and Emma. But then the film itself has kind of like a Tim Burton-esque quality to it, with Emma Stone's half black, half white hair. Could very well have been a hairstyle that Helena Bonham Carter would have worn in a Tim Burton movie. So it is I would say, perhaps the darkest of these Disney franchises. They did really kind of go there. I mean, there are talk and tales of, killing people and burning them and things like that you go,
Yeah, someone is literally murdered in this movie.
Exactly.
I mean, they die.
But I like that they went there. The director, Craig Gillespie, he directed I, Tonya. And of course, we all know the story of Tonya Harding and Nancy Kerrigan. So the competition thing here is something that he at least is quite well versed in between amongst the women on women kind of thing.
Yeah, and this is his I think it's his fourth Disney film. It's either his third or his fourth Disney film. So they love him, and he's also doing the Pam and Tommy movie.
Oh yes, yes.
I'm looking forward to that one. I don't think that one's a Disney movie.
The thing that really was a negative for me was at 2 hours and 20 minutes, to me it was way too long. If this is Disney movies are never generally that long, and it's not like the story was so chock full of information that we had to explain things to make it that long. Like around the 90-minute mark, I was starting to get a little fidgety and started to sort of feel like the story should wrap up. Like, I get it. I understand now. Let's just wrap this up. But it didn't, and it kept on going. And I think that is going to be to its detriment. It didn't need to be that long. Now they're like padding it with things that aren't that necessary.
Well, I think part of it is because it's telling, in a sense, two stories. It's the origin story of Cruella, and then it's this conflict she has with the Baroness. And I think that's what extended its length. So I will tell you that I saw it with my teen daughter, and she was absolutely engrossed and engaged from beginning to end. She absolutely loves this movie, and and so that's she's a good test in terms of can she sit through a 2-hour movie. She'll only do that for the Avengers.
Like her dad.
Yes, like her dad. Oh yeah, I mean we've seen Endgame so many times. I mean literally, what is that? 12 hours of our lives. Okay. Okay. So the other thing is Emma Stone. She's not British. She is tapped to take on this iconic role. What did you think of her? Is she Cruella DeVille?
Oh, to me, she was that. I didn't question her acting abilities. In fact, she looks like she is having a blast in this role, and having to play this victim by the name of Estelle, because that is her real name, and the tragedy that happened almost in this sort of Dickensian childhood before she adopts her, Cruella. She did a good job playing both sides of the coin of being at once someone who was, life was unfair, things were hard, things got destitute. She's scrappy, trying to climb the career ladder, and then she becomes this villain who, by the way, never truly is villainous. Like in the cartoon, we know that Cruella DeVille is like, she just wants to kill puppies and make fur coats out of them. Like that's her thing. And of course you can't have anything remotely like that today. And I'm glad, because I'm a big animal lover and I would never want that to be promoted in any way. But we never see her engage in any type of true cruel behavior that would lead us to go, oh yes, I know how she became the Cruella DeVille that we all grew up on. Like there is no clear path.
See, I don't know about that. I think she did. I think, okay, so she does do evil things. The thing is, though, she does it against her evil boss. And then you mentioned Joker. Okay, so first time, she's not so innocent. She's very cunning. She's very sly, and then seeing the death of a certain person, her mother. Okay, kind of pushes her over the edge a little bit, and then she gets involved with these grifters, Horace and Jasper, and then she gets double crossed by the Baroness, and begins her nefarious schemes, nefarious for good, of course.
Yes, right.
Yeah, and she does some pretty nasty things to her, and then she has kind of this amazing monologue at the end or before the big showdown that I just found fairly amazing. That she's just standing there talking to her dead mother, and it's like, wow, this is pretty good, and pretty good for a Disney movie too. And so I want to believe that Disney is not making her good like Maleficent. I want to believe that she is that we are getting a flavor of the Cruella of the animated feature, and I got disproven by the ending.
Yes,
because I'll be honest, I did want kind of a Revenge of the Sith moment where we see that bridge from this movie to the animated feature, and it doesn't do it. It tries to, but the only way it could bridge across is if you completely rewrite the animated feature at this point, and that's the thing that really disappointed me about the film.
Well, I'm so on board for another one. I would definitely follow this character into other areas and adventures. I'd be curious to see where this character goes. But it is, Disney really, they're so good at mining their IP. And you're just
and buying IP and mining that IP.
Yes, exactly. And I mean, everything is so corporate. Everything is there's numerous writers on this film, including Aline Brosh McKenna, who was a writer on Devil Wears Prada. So you kind of have to think that she was brought in for some of that sort of.
Or they just plagiarized her and then gave her credit because they did.
But Disney has the money to really make a spectacle out of these things, and this, I mean. I know like we just kind of finished award season, but definitely we have to look at these costumes as being like a no-brainer for the costume category. It's amazing.
I mean, I'm just like, this is exposed to kids, and I'm like, great. Finally, something from the 60s that kids can embrace. Let me just talk about the other thing is okay. So I'm going to support my issue with the villainy of Cruella. To me, Disney villains are so iconic to the point where both theme parks have villain stores. They uplift the villains during the Halloween events at the parks. Villains play a big part of it, and so I do have issues when it does take someone like Cruella and try to give her a softer, more good side. And I kind of wish that they had just created the villain instead of making the baby face, the stone cold anti-hero, so to speak.
I didn't mind that. I didn't like. To me, Cruella was cool. Like if I was a kid, I'd probably want to be her for Halloween.
Yeah,
she was like. And I know that a lot of it also has to do with the outfits. I mean, that is a big thing. I mean, she just wears the most glorious. And setting this in the fashion world just, gives way from one glorious set piece to another. The parties, the runways, it is designed to make a statement. Like Cruella might as well be Vivienne Westwood, this sort of punk rock, steampunk type of thing. And it's all in this world. And I was really in it, really into it.
Okay, so clearly you love this movie. It engaged you. Maybe it was a little bit too long, but I feel like that was a minor point. So I'm gonna guess you gave it 8.5, maybe. I don't know. I don't think you gave it a 9.
I gave it an 8.5, almost a 9. If it was shorter a little bit, I probably would have gotten. I probably would have given it a 9. But I really, really did enjoy it. And though I didn't see it on the big screen, it would have been glorious on the big screen. But even on the small screen, I was fully into it. And I can't recommend it enough for both kids and adults. I think it's perfectly fine for tweens, teens, even maybe little kids. It's not, it's really, and especially for grownups. I mean, it's it's for our generation because we grew up on those originals, so we know Cruella, we know the Dalmatians, we expect certain things, and it feeds us those things that the non-seers of the previous iterations wouldn't understand. So it was all there. And for you, I also thought you enjoyed it, and I think a part of your enjoyment is also through your daughter's eyes too. And you didn't seem to have a problem with the time like I did, but I think you maybe wanted her to be a little edgier. But I also think that you probably gave it an 8, 8.5, maybe not a 9, but definitely like in that 8 zone for you.
Yeah, no, definitely. I gave it an 8, and I will say this: it was the epilogue, the whole thing, that my whole complaint about her not being evil. If they had not done that epilogue, 8.5. But but to me, yeah, I'll second everything you just said. I think Emma Stone is Cruella DeVille. I cannot judge her accent, but it sounded pretty good.
Yeah.
I think they did a really good job, and I do like the fact that they did walk that line of villainy and sympathy, and I think it really worked here. And I think I just enjoyed it. I love the spectacle of it as well.
Yeah.
All right. So with that, be sure to like, subscribe, tell us what you thought. You're going to see it. We know you are.
Yeah.
Like, subscribe, tell us what you thought of Cruella. And with that, let's get out of here.